City Council meeting for October 1st, 2024. My name is Mark Clark, the mayor. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear. Councilmember Johnson.
Present.
Councilmember Neal.
Present.
Councilmember Mortensen.
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Here.
Councilmember Delaney.
Present.
All right, next item on the agenda is the oath of office for Deputy City Clerk Cheryl Argonne.
I, Cheryl Argonne, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Colorado, the Home Rule Charter and the ordinances of the City of Evans, and will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Clerk, upon which I'm about to enter to the best of my ability. Thank you. This is my new deputy. Please welcome her to the City of Evans. I'm very much looking forward to working with her.
Welcome, Cheryl.
Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you all.
All right, next item on the agenda is audience participation. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address City Council on any item not on the agenda or of a public hearing? If so, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I'm going to make a modification to it. We are going to go out of the council meeting before the executive session, and then we're going to go directly into the ERA. After the ERA meeting, we will come back into the city council meeting and go into an executive session.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
A motion is second to approve the agenda as amended. All of those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, next item, consent agenda. Item number 2, approval of the September 17th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I
A
second.
motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, old business. Item number 3, consideration of ordinance number 830-2024, establishing chapter 8.27 of the Evans Municipal Code, regulating the storage of recreational equipment and vehicles, first reading. And we'll open this up to questions for Councilmember Crabtree, since he was the committee chair, and then if we don't have any other questions or anything, we can go into a vote on that. So does anybody have any questions for Councilmember Crabtree? No, I do. I know there was a few citizens that brought to my attention about plugging in their vehicles. And one of the concerns that the citizens had was, we understand that we do not want the appearance of the RV to appear lived in. However, some of them indicated that they like to have their RV plugged in all year round to allow for batteries to be charged, some of their equipment or appliances in there to continue to work and function throughout the year, so when they are ready to use it in the spring or summer, that their equipment is still properly working, their batteries aren't dead, and they don't have any additional maintenance costs to occur because of those issues if those the batteries die or their equipment stop working. One of the things that was suggested is, would the council would consider maybe modifying that and make sure that their stairwell is up. It doesn't look like it has the appearance of being lived in, but it can have it plugged in and maintained all year round, like that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would not suggest that we make that change. For RVs, for the refrigerator and the air conditioning, it does need to be plugged into main utility. And we give a variance of time to allow someone to plug in and get those refrigerators cold and get them ready to be mobilized and moved out. But for general storage use for their batteries, a simple solar unit plugged in the windshield will keep those batteries charged and ready to run. Again, the only reason why you would need to have it plugged into the house is to run a refrigerator or the air conditioning, and that would be counterintuitive to the purpose of this ordinance. I understand the fact that people want to be able to just plug and go, but we also give them 24 hours to prepare for their adventure, and at that point they can plug into the home, get those refrigerators cold and those air conditioners running so that they can clean or do maintenance. But for having those units plugged in all the time would be counterintuitive to this ordinance.
And the other question that was brought to my attention by a couple other citizens was regarding the horse trailers and the exemption for those, of why they were not included as a recreational vehicle or a trailer or something to that effect.
We'll have to look into the horse trailer. I do not remember seeing any place in that ordinance where the horse trailer is specifically put in. Cody, you want to chime in on that for me? Did we miss the horse trailer? Because I would consider a horse trailer a utility trailer, and the utility trailer should fall within that same ordinance.
So the horse trailers are exempted specifically in the definition of a recreational vehicle. So if you look in the definitions of the recreational vehicle within the ordinance, it specifically calls out the exemption of horse trailers, which is a similarity or a carryover from what the city of Greeley does. So for the sake of consistency is where that definition is coming from.
Great, thank you for the clarification on that. Okay. Great.
Now, if the city council does not wish to exempt horse trailers, then the easiest path forward would be to strike that line in the definition of recreational vehicles.
Thank you.
I would leave that up to council discussion at that point. That is something I was unaware of. Clearly I read it, but the horse trailer situation, I don't know. What are our thoughts on that? Do we have that many horse trailers within the city of Evans that
Not
would
that
be
I'm
abusing?
not that I'm aware of, and that was the concern.
Would
that
it
was
be,
brought up.
would a horse trailer be something that someone would be living in, or?
Would hope not.
Huh?
Right, no, I mean, does anybody on council have any discussion or any thoughts on that, or are you good leaving it as is in the ordinance as presented?
Well, I do have one small question. If I can't have my utility trailer, but you're saying I can have a horse trailer, can I just get a horse trailer and then use that as a utility trailer?
In this situation, I would have to say yes.
So with that being said, I would probably strike that. Okay, sorry.
If I may, the definition of a recreational vehicle reads in part, a horse trailer used primarily for transport of horses and or livestock to or from the site it is stored upon shall not be considered a recreational vehicle under this definition. Now, if we look at the definition of utility trailer means a trailer with an open top rear cargo area, bed, capable of hauling light loads, whether such hauling be for commercial or recreational purposes.
Okay, so I don't think we need to strike it or make any changes to the ordinance.
All right. Anybody have any additional questions or comments on this ordinance?
I have a question.
Sure, please.
Something, I don't know if it was specific in there or not, I can't remember.
Mhm.
Was used, like in there it said 7 days someone could stay in the camper.
Yes.
What did we have before?
We were allowing 7 days, 2 consecutive times for the year, and now we're allowing 7 days per quarter,
So more time,
more time.
Basically a month in a year.
okay.
We really, the ad hoc committee really did not want this to be a heavy burden to residents that own these type of trailers or assets. And we understood the fact that people would like to use them as they need to see fit. And we just, having the goals that we had as the ad hoc and this committee, as well as this council, we wanted to give as much flexibility as possible.
So my question then for you is, how is what we had not flexible enough? Because we did have them look into other areas in other cities, and this seemed pretty reasonable at the time.
The previous ordinance or this current
You're talking
ordinance?
about the previous.
Way back, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
well, it
previous.
became way too restrictive than what it originally.
Well, Mayor, if I can speak to that, I was always against the first ordinance. We okay?
Before, but what I'm saying is before the one at the beginning of the year that everybody didn't care for. What I'm saying is that we looked into the other cities and other areas, and researched what they had. And I understand we came up with this committee because, the citizens didn't like that new one. So, but how I'm not understanding why we couldn't just stay at, like, say, twice a year. Why are we going to 4 times a year? Because to me, that seems like it would be
More flexible?
I'm trying to say this, no. Just opening it up to more issues.
So,
So let me answer that
How
question.
would they not be able to plug into the house? If you have someone staying there 7 days, they're gonna need to plug in, for that time.
And that's acceptable. So you're asking 2 different questions. So the first question is, the ad hoc committee was put into play, and this was the request from the ad hoc committee. And I agreed with that. I think that having 7 days of someone staying in the trailer on a quarterly basis is an anomaly and is not the consistent. Now, some of the situations that arose were if there was, say, someone that needed a place to stay because of economic conditions, and a person has something that they could stay in, they wanted to give that opportunity to that particular person or family, whatever, it doesn't matter. I would also agree that giving that flexibility, and again, this is an anomaly, this isn't something that's on a regular basis, gives the flexibility to our residents to use their personal property as they see fit. The second thing is being plugged into the home on a regular basis is not needed. It is not needed to protect the asset, and it's not needed for longevity. And I reached out to several different retailers and manufacturers to cross-check this, and they all said the same thing. To maintain the functionality of their utility, having a simple trickle charger that you can get very inexpensively keeps those batteries charged. But when individuals want to go on their adventure or just use their trailer, at that point it would be appropriate for them to plug into their home. And the only reason why you would need to plug into the home is to run the air conditioner or run the refrigerator. And having the refrigerator run on a consistent basis is not needed for long-term storage. You're not storing milk and cheese while this asset is being stored.
so,
Lenny?
I guess what I would like to say about the 7 days every quarter, it's one of the things I like the least in this ordinance. However, we went to the citizens and said, hey,
Yes.
give us your input. You brought back, that was their input. I don't feel like I'm in a position to say, but I know better. And so I would not want to have that changed.
And I appreciate that feedback because the committee did spend a lot of time on putting this ordinance together. And they reached out to their connected network and brought this back to us. And at the end of the day, I approached the committee with the top 7 things that this diocese did not want. People living in trailers, abandoned trailers, outdated trailers, not properly stored. And the ad hoc committee did a phenomenal job bringing information back to us saying, hey, look, this is the situation. This is what we want. And we are their employees. So, I mean, we work for them. So I'm standing behind 100% on this ordinance. And I hope that we all can push this through.
I agree with what you just mentioned. I think, we put in place an ad hoc committee and we got the input from our community, and this is a great compromise between everyone. And it seems as though, you thoroughly kind of went through everything and really got some input. And also there was a lot of research. And so I feel the same. I'm in support of it.
Is there any other questions for me?
Any other questions, comments?
Just to comment on the plug-in year-round, that invites abuse, I think, and it's too hard to me for code enforcement or to figure out if somebody's actually living in the trailer year-round, and definitely don't want to see that put back in there in an ordinance. And I think that the committee did a great job on this, and it sounds like there was not too much once it got started. Most of them were pretty much on agreement on how to keep this maintained.
I appreciate that feedback. One of the things, you're absolutely correct. Code enforcement aren't mind readers. They need a very definitive check this box to enforce this code. And the citizens of Evans can very easily go down to City Hall and get a free permit. They slap it in the window, and that makes them exempt from code enforcement. It's a phenomenal idea that Angela came up with. It really alleviates the burden and workload on code enforcement. And we don't want code enforcement to look through a lens of doubt. We just need to have set rules. Don't have it plugged in, no slides out, ladders up. You've got a little permit in your window that's free, you can get it. Code enforcement's not going to talk to you about it. Simple as that.
All right, just the last thing. Again, I want to thank the ad hoc committee for all of its hard work putting this together and everything. I appreciate all your hard work and everything that went into this, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
But if there's no other additional questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 830-24, establishing chapter 8.27 of the Evans Municipal Code, regulating the storage of recreational vehicles, equipment, and trailers on residential property.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 830-24, establishing chapter 8.27 of the Evans Municipal Code, regulating the storage of recreational vehicles, equipments, and trailer on residential property. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Nay. Motion passes 5-1. All right. Next item.
Are we gonna get roll call?
No, we had 5-1. All right. Next item under new business, item number 4, public hearing, consideration of 2025 operating capital budget resolution number 16-2024, adopting the 2025 budget, and ordinance number 831-24-2025, adopting budget appropriations, first reading. I'll open up the public hearing and we'll hear from staff.
Good afternoon, or good evening, Mayor Clark, members of City Council. I have Elsa Caro here, our Finance Manager, with me to help work through this information. But thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to summarize some of the highlights for the 2025 budget. This is an exciting culmination of work by all of us in this room. So thank you, City Council, for starting this process back in April. Lots and lots of great discussions, hard decisions, weighing priorities to get to this point. It's really your participation in that process that gave us the information to create a good framework, we hope, for this budget. Cody Sims, thank you for your direction and guidance in this process as well. Our finance team, many of whom are here or online, were phenomenal this year, really pushing the professionalism of the information that we're creating, trying to ensure that everyone knows what this information is. This is our roadmap for all of our departments to further your goals and visions for next year. And thanks to the departments who willingly walked alongside of us when we said, hey, we have new software, you're gonna have to do it, and you're gonna have to put in your own information, and we'll show you how it works. Everyone was great in working through that process with us and creating some efficiencies along the way. So happy to be the one that gets to speak to that team effort. Maybe. So try to summarize some of the major goals for this next year's budget. Cody's done a great job in the transmittal letter as part of the budget book. It's also the verbiage in the staff report tonight, really trying to articulate what this budget is going to do next year. And, you know, a big piece of that is planning for revenue stability next year. We must continue to talk about where our necessary revenues are coming from. It can't only be sales tax. We highlighted a lot more of the vulnerabilities of that sales tax, the necessary revenue that we need to receive from property tax for future stability as well. We're proud that we're able to fund essential needs in next year's budget. We were able to do that with City Council's direction to utilize a larger amount of the general fund reserves next year, and that'll help to invest back in the city in terms of capital and one-time investments too. Summarize some of the major buckets in the general fund next year. Our supplies, services, and transfer out costs are about $6.4 million. That's 3% above 2024's original budget amount. And that really is the core operating costs of the various departments. Personnel costs to, again, the general fund only, about $14.5 million. That is 8% up over the 2024 budget. And that's not just the step increases that was agreed upon by City Council, but also the addition of the new staff that'll come on board to help our parks maintenance, facility maintenance, and our building inspection services to bring those in-house. And then a huge increase in capital and asset management costs for next year, due largely by that additional spending out of our reserves for next year. So about $6.2 million will be spent on various capital and asset costs next year. Rather than go slide by slide of the various costs, I already see smiles, phew. I'll have Elsa help me walk through this. If you recall, back in April, we demoed a product called Balancing Act, where we did look at what the budget looked like, various priorities, and what would this look like on a more interactive way to look at the budget. So, oh, whoops, we took the mouse too soon. Thanks, Jules. So we have this up, and as you're looking at this, my question for council at the end will be, is this a usable tool? Is this something we'd like to put out to the public to gain more information about our budget, play with it, see how they would design a budget? It allows us to get feedback from anybody who would like to learn more of this product. So it's not live external yet, it's live just kind of is in an internal demo mode. And because this is our demo, we did lose an initial screen. When you click on this link, I have it set to where it's that previous slide where it says, welcome, thanks for wanting to learn more about your 2025 budget. And it'll ask you right away, are you a resident? Yes or no. You don't have to answer if you don't want. And then additionally, a second question pops up that says, do you know how much property tax you pay to the city of Evans? It's an open field question box. You don't have to fill it out. You could say, I have no idea. That information would come back to us, and it can be anonymous. They can provide contact information at the end. If folks want to know more, it gives us a route to reach back out to them. What it will, even if you bypass those questions though, you get to a screen that is this dashboard summary of next year's general fund budget. And right away it says at the top, you have a surplus. It's green. If you didn't, it'd be red. It looks scarier at the top. But what this tells us is we have a balanced operating budget of $69,001 for next year. And again, this doesn't include capital because we've spent a lot out of that reserves or the savings account for the general fund. But we're required to present an operating budget. Those operating revenues pay for those operating expenditures for the year in which you're adopting the budget. If also go to the left, you'll see on the revenue there on the left side, maybe scroll down to where you can see the total. You'll see we've got $21.1 million of revenue represented in next year's general fund budget. It shows you all the categories there. If you wanted to learn more about them, maybe scroll back up and open up sales tax or the property tax. It'll tell you what that dollar amount is. It gives you a little information button. If you hover over that information button, it'll tell you more about the property tax. It'll say, oh, it's collected by the county when you pay your property tax bill. If you click more details, you know, we've indicated what the mill levy is, how it's calculated roughly, just providing a little bit extra context. So we have that for each of our revenue categories here. It'll also tell them, oh, this can only be increased by a vote of the people. So they can't just say, oh yeah, we should have $30 million of property taxes. It gives them the kind of those safeguards to know that's great, but that's, you know, not something we can decide on our own. So we do have $21.1 million next year in the budget to allocate towards needs. So if you scroll back up on the right side, it lists that spending, and that spending is that donut chart as well. So you can see general government is that red sector there. $5.8 million is spent in general government. Then you open it and you realize what all is entailed in there. Everything from city council, heritage budget, you know, city manager, HR and risk management, $1.5 million. Well, that's the citywide insurance costs as well. And that tells them that if you drill down to the department, it talks about what kinds of expenses are included in those various departments. I don't know if anything else catches your eye on that. Public safety is another big one. The city will spend next year $7.8 million in public safety expenditures. So this is not just police, but also our municipal court and our required contribution to the fire district for next year. Police, in total, $7.4 million. These costs do represent both personnel and those supplies and service operational costs as well. So it kind of gives you a little bit of context as far as how the city is using those various sources of revenue that we're bringing in. Trying to see, Public Works includes not only a small amount of administration costs, but our main sectors of engineering, operations, and fleet. And again, you can drill down in those. So the neat part about this is for residents, if we wanted to put out this simulation or provide this information in some other capacities, it does allow folks to toggle that green plus and that red minus. And so they could look and say, wow, I think police services should be double. We should have double, you know, the presence of police or the expenditure of what we're spending now. They can play with that and see how much money we would need to accomplish that. They can see, wow, if I built my ideal city and we spent double on parks, you know, double on rec, who knows what their interests are, they can see the revenue that it would take to achieve their ideal budget or where they think certain amounts of money should go. It does allow them at the bottom to hit submit, and that information can come back to us. Again, they can put comments in any of those boxes and say, we don't need a finance department. We should be spending nothing. They can provide whatever feedback they'd like. And then all of that, again, I think it does give them an option. We can ask for an email address if they'd like information back. They can do it anonymously, and we're at least have that information. So not only is this a tool for us to better understand, we would like to, at a minimum, have this as a tool that anyone can go and further their understanding about our budget information. And, you know, as we're talking about these factors, would ask for your feedback at the end on whether you would like this pushed out to the public to provide information or feedback back as well. But this is a great tool for us to see the budget at a glance, at least for the general fund. And there's a note at the very bottom, because we do talk about the capital and spending $6 million of our reserves, and it's very small. So it just gives a disclaimer. Hey, we had $13 million of ending fund balance reserves. City Council has chosen to keep 6.75 of that in reserves for various reasons, and the additional above that amount is being invested into capital infrastructure maintenance for next year. Thanks for your help on that. Yeah, let Jules do it because I think the screen, oh, okay. If we mess something up on your end, let us know. Thanks, Elsa. So I just included this in the slides so we had some context, but we won't talk about it anymore. The general fund long-range outlook, we do always look at the 5-year plan, even though you're approving or considering next year's budget. Similar to the structure of this, when we looked at it at the last work session, you'll see those net results are negative for 2025 because of that capital investment. So important that we look first to make sure that that operating budget is balanced before we look at those one-time capital expenditures. After we invest a large amount of the reserves next year, we still have $214,000 available in addition to our required reserves. And then I'll just point out, as we've mentioned before, in 28 and 29 is that spectrum of time gets further out and our clarity of revenues is less clear each year. At the current level of expenditures, assuming normal rate of inflation of those costs, we could find ourselves in a position where our operating revenues are not sufficient to cover our operating expenditures in 28 and 29. So we'll continue to work as articulated by Cody in our budget transmittal letter. We're continuing to look at that revenue stability in the future and what we can do to make sure that that doesn't happen, because that's kind of one of our first priorities. So we did just mention we have, $214,000 in excess of those required reserves. A small amount of, well, the majority of that, I should say, is also set aside in committed or dedicated revenue. Most of these are court security surcharges, police surcharges that can be used for traffic calming projects. We're required to show that in our audit and financial statements, those committed balances as well. So we do have all of the buckets covered. And then as requested by City Council, that level is down from 40% so that we can invest more of those funds next year. It equates to 32% of 2024's projected operating expenditures. I think what this does is accommodate a large amount, so clearly, of the requests that we had this year for needs, and allows City Council to look at this annually in best practice, and hopefully gives you room next year in the budget process to look at what additional projects weren't funded this year, new needs that might come up between now and then that you might be able to fund. The city does have budgeted almost $60 million of capital projects next year. So I think this number continues to grow each year. A large part of that is the police station construction. We talk about it every year because the construction itself hasn't quite started yet. Rather than carrying over this budget, we're just assuming a new budget number each year. So that's why if anyone is looking at prior documents or you're thinking, I thought I saw a large multi-million-dollar number last year, don't worry, that was going away and we're replacing it with next year's plan. General fund, you'll see just over $6 million of those costs that we've talked about for many work sessions to identify these priorities, and then a number of really critical roadway projects will be accomplished next year. A lot of work in the proprietary enterprise funds in water, wastewater, and storm, and continuing to take care of some maintenance and construction items next year. You'll see in total our city budget total revenues are $83.8 million. That does include for projects like the police station at a $35 million budget on the previous slide. We're assuming that we will have a debt issuance for that. So there is a revenue component of debt issuance as well. I want that to be stated as part of the $83 million. $35 million of that will likely be revenue that will be assumed next year to start that construction. Operating expenditures citywide, we're at $37.5 million. Total capital, I think this includes AMP, so it might be slightly different from the number on the previous slide, just short of $60 million. And so our net result citywide is we're using $13 million more resources than we are getting in current year revenue next year. a lot of that is the road projects. So if we look at some of these capital costs, investing $60 million in our city is because we've been accumulating some money in these funds for these various projects. Not to be scared to see a negative number there. Sometimes that question does come up. So we assume we still will have an ending balance citywide of just shy of $27 million. I think that summary rounds us out. There's a lot of information in council packet tonight. Please take the time to read through the budget book. That's a document we're really proud of. We'll continue to submit that for GFOA's best practices for completion and some of the standards that we set in this document. And really that's the roadmap for us all to have better information for just the summary level information and those numbers that are in the resolution and the ordinance for your consideration tonight. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Jackie. Any questions of staff?
I guess I do have a question, but it's mostly on this tool. I do like it. I think also, I don't know if it's on there already. It might be. No. Just like, no. But it's just like understanding like the different buckets also, because I think sometimes it's like they can see numbers. Well, why don't you borrow from that and put it here? You know what I mean? And understanding just that concept, because I think when it comes to all of that, it's quite unique. Just because if you try to kind of put it in layman's terms and say, hey, think about your own budget, but sometimes you do take from specific pots, but with a city, especially a government entity, you can't do that. So it'd be fantastic to also state that, because I think this could definitely be useful. For me, it's always a great way to kind of teach and engage. So I guess my question, is it on there?
Because the tool is so focused on the general fund and those various sources of revenue that come in the general fund, we don't speak much to those sources because they're not restricted. We're not talking about the road tax money isn't included in there. We're not talking about utility fee revenue included in there either. But I think there's options for us to utilize some of the space on there to indicate that those are separate and those are not included in there, because I think it would be helpful for folks to know these are the revenues we can use to pay for city council, police, administrative, public works types of costs. So I think we can help to add some clarification to that. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. I like it. I think it's great. So thank you.
Good, Councilmember Delaney.
So the only question I have about the tool, I really like it. Is there, since there's the submittal feature, is there some kind of protection against somebody submitting very similar things all the time? So, for instance, we know Councilmember Crabtree really likes big signs. If he wants to go in and every day put that he wants a larger amount of money in the signs budget, are you going to see 365 responses that Evans citizens want bigger signs?
We might, and honestly, the more feedback, the better. If you want to do this every day and provide your feedback on the signs, council member, please do so. So I think if we got to the point where the feedback was cumbersome or not helpful, we could change how those responses are being received. We can ask for other contact information. We can require you to put in your email address so that we can track who you are, so that we can provide information to you about what those signs cost.
Okay.
So at any point we can change those features on the fly too. Even if we publish it live, we still have the ability to change those.
Okay, thank you.
Any other additional questions of staff?
I really like the widget tool. I think it's a great interactive tool. But I really appreciate the fact that you brought the team together and the entire organization. Running budgets in the past are a daunting task and take a lot of time. And being able to not only put together a budget and I'm getting the
Okay.
well, you just threw me off.
Okay. Sorry.
My question then is, how much did you, okay. I think I'll move on.
No, go ahead. Ask
Derailed me a little bit.
Sorry.
I had a great question.
Sorry. Go ahead. Ask the question.
But to get the information from the other members of the organization, was that an easy task? And was it something that you got collectively on a timely manner? Or was,
Would you like to
okay,
answer
good.
that?
It was a great response from the departments. We didn't have any issues with them and really responsive, so it was good.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mayor Clark, for letting me make sure I make my question at point.
All right, any other additional questions for staff? All right, because this is a public hearing, I'd ask if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to come up and speak for or against this. If so, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and council discussion. Jackie, again, thank you to you and your team for putting this all together. I really love the collaboration between all the departments and the council on the budget. This is really a great thing that I'm glad we've implemented in the last couple of years. And I want to say thank you to the council for working on this budget as well with the staff and taking some money out of that, the reserves and reinvesting it back into our community. A lot of stuff in this community is finally getting done and taken care of that's been neglected for a long time. We've given the staff the tools that they've needed to do, you know, the work of for the public and make the city shine. So I hope we continue to do that in the future. But thank you to your staff, and this is pretty cut and dry, and I'm for it.
I really like, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I like hearing that everybody was very responsive very quickly, but I also think that comes from Cody, and restructuring and everything that we've had going on. And for you all to see that we support you guys, we want to get you what you need, and we want to do right by the city, by the staff, make the city look good. And so I think that's an all-encompassing thank you to everybody, and I think that speaks highly of you all, speaks highly of Cody, and I still say thank you to all of you for letting us know what you need, letting us know what's needed to make the city look better, how we can make the city look better, because you guys help give us direction, and the citizens do as well. But without this information, we don't know, you know. So thank you all for your hard work and the sharing of information.
I echo that, but I have to say, I think all the changes has fostered a lot of engagement, and I think, although it may have seemed as, you know, disconnected, I think now it's coming together. It's not just like the council and we are looking at someone telling us something. I think now it's like a collaborative effort. And I really, really enjoy seeing that, because I think we're up here, but we also want to ensure that you, like as mentioned, that everything that you need to do the best for Evans, you have. And that's what we want, because without you, we're not able to run this city. So if we can provide those tools to you all, let's do it. So, and this is a great presentation. It looks fantastic, very clean, very nice, very easy to read. So kudos team.
All right. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Councilmember Neal.
Well, I'd like to thank the council for having the guts to take and utilize the taxpayers' money in a better manner than sticking it in and doubling the required reserve amount and letting it sit in there in those deposits that basically inflation was eating away at, and the deferred maintenance costs were increasing, so that this council has to spend more money to do what should have been done in the past. And I think that by reducing those reserves down, we're going to be able to get some things, more things accomplished that hadn't been done in the past, and still maintain the necessary reserves if there's an emergency.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more on that. So, all right. If there's no other additional questions, or I'm sorry, comments, I entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 16-2024 and approve ordinance number 831-24 on first reading.
Second.
All right, I have to this one. Downloaded the wrong one. All right, I have a motion and a second to, oh, that just completely, mine just completely aired out on me. There it goes. All right, I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 16-2024 and approve ordinance number 831-24 on first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, staff. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jackie. All right, next item number 5, consideration of ordinance number 832-24, an ordinance opting out of SB 24-131's restrictions to allow the lawful carrying of firearms in the Evans Municipal Complex and adjacent parking lots. First reading, and we'll hear from staff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. This is ordinance 832-24, and what this does is opts out of the General Assembly's bill, SB 24-131, to allow the lawful carrying of firearms on the city, in the city complex and in offices if they're otherwise lawful. As the ordinance indicates, it opts out to the maximum extent possible, as if SB 24-131 was not drafted, and in that sense, it's the city of Evans exercising its home rule authority under the Colorado Constitution to regulate firearms in a manner that's consistent with the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, and in furtherance of the City Council's direction at the latest work session on September 17th. With that, I'll answer any questions. That concludes my remarks.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for staff? I don't have any. It's pretty straightforward. We had a good discussion at the last council meeting, so no, if there are no questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 832-24 to opt out of SB 24-131 on first reading.
Second.
A motion to second to approve ordinance number 832 -24 to opt out of SB 24-131 on first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next item number 6, consideration of ordinance number 829-24, an ordinance for the regulation of traffic by the city of Evans, Colorado, adopting the 2024 edition of the Model Traffic Code for Colorado municipalities, repealing all ordinances in conflict therewithin, and providing penalties for violations therefore. First reading.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance 829-24 is to adopt the 2024 Model Traffic Code. The Model Traffic Code is the set of model rules and regulations to ensure uniform traffic rules throughout the state for home rule municipalities to adopt, and it complies with state law. This is codified in Title 10 of the Evans Municipal Code, which also includes different parking regulations and various other processes for the municipal court, as well as regulations that had affected the parking of oversized vehicles or recreational vehicles on private property. So to ensure that the Title 10 provisions are consistent with the newly just adopted RV ordinance, it also takes out any inconsistencies out of that as well. So that concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments of staff? Pretty straight.
No comment. Yes, it's amazing to me that here's another instance where we haven't kept up with updating our codes for 14 years. So I'm well and glad that we can get this updated and we meet the current state standards basically for this, for traffic.
Well, I did talk to our city manager, Cody Sims, today, and I said if city council asked me about that, I will say we do have a city manager who wants updated codes, and this is the first time in my experience that we have had that. The material differences in prosecuting the 2010 Model Traffic Code and the 2024 are probably not great, although the 2024 does contain provisions about roundabouts, and it is good to have updated codes. So whether it's with codes or in the courts, we're following the city manager's direction and removing duct tape and baling wire where we find that, which is an agricultural metaphor for unnecessary or temporary fixes to permanent problems, and also ensuring that we have updated codes. So that's thanks to our city manager there.
Well, thank you for your hard work as well, because you put a lot of hard work into this too, so.
Thanks.
Any other additional questions, comments?
I have none.
I have none either. All right, no questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 829-24 to adopt the 2024 model traffic code on first reading.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve ordinance number 829-24 to adopt the 2024 model traffic code on first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
All right, next item, item number 7, consideration of resolution number 17-2024, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Evans and the Evans Fire Protection District for the assessment and collection of fire impact fees. We'll hear from staff.
Yes, Mayor and Council, very simply put, this intergovernmental agreement simply formalizes an arrangement that we've had with the fire district for quite some time, where we will continue to collect fire impact fees when developers come in to pay for building permits. So earlier this year, Governor Polis signed Senate Bill 24-194 into law, which allows the fire district to actually collect their own fees. However, in order to keep it as simple as possible, one stop paying those fees, what Chief DeSalvo and I have discussed is for the city to continue to collect those fees, and then those fees be remitted back to the fire district as they are today on a quarterly basis. So really just trying to keep it the way we've always done it, just formalizing it in light of the new state law. Be happy to answer any questions. Also have Chief DeSalvo here tonight if the city council has any questions.
Any questions or comments? Pretty straightforward to me. We've done it for so long, might as well continue to do it. So,
I agree, and it sounds like both parties are in agreement, so.
Sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Neal.
Well, I think this will help in our reducing the burden on developers. And it's, for a small district like Evans is, I think this makes more sense than instead of having the developers running around like a chicken with their head cut off trying to get all the building permits and fees paid.
All right. Well, if there's any, yep, I agree. If there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 17-2024, approving the intergovernmental agreement for the assessment and collection of fire impact fees.
Second.
A motion is second to approve resolution number 17-2024, approving the intergovernmental agreement for the assessments and collection of fire impact fees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, next item, item number 8, consideration of resolution number 18-2024, acceptance of an easement agreement with VRE Evans LLC, a Texas limited liability company for a permanent utility easement located on a portion of Lot 1 of the Ashcroft Heights First Filing Replat E. We'll hear from staff.
Great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michael Hall, City Planner, Community Development Department. For your consideration is resolution number 18-2024, an acceptance of an easement agreement with VRE Evans LLC for a permanent utility easement located on a portion, the northern top part of Lot 1 of Ashcroft Heights First Filing Replat E. This proposed easement will be located on land that is currently undergoing construction for the West Murphy's fueling station. This property is located at the northwest corner of 37th Street and 35th Avenue. The need for this easement was identified by engineering staff as part of a review of the Murphy's construction drawings. The easement is detailed in the attached easement agreement, which will be recorded following City Council action. As detailed in the agreement, this easement is for the purpose of an existing water line that provides fire flow service to an existing hydrant. Currently, this utility line is not located in an easement. However, as the site is now developing, staff asserts that city infrastructure should be adequately controlled by including this utility line in an easement in order for the city to have the proper ability to manage the line. For reference, the easement area is approximately 958 square feet or 10 by 90. For reference, this is the standard utility easement agreement template that was provided by city engineering staff to Galloway, who is the authorized agent for the property owner, and Exhibit A2, or page number 7 of the easement agreement, shows the layout of the easement. The agreement has been signed by the landowner, is currently held by the city clerk. No financial contribution from the city is required for this easement agreement, and staff recommends acceptance of the easement agreement. At this time, I conclude my remarks and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments of staff? It's pretty straightforward.
I have
right?
none.
All right, no questions or comments?
Comment.
Oh, sorry.
Again, this council is having to take care of something that was, not done properly in the past. It's just, sometimes gets disgusting to find out how much deferred maintenance and lack of, proper management by past staff in the councils.
Thank you, Councilmember Neal. Any other additional questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 18-2024 and accept the easement agreement with BRE Evans LLC for the utility easement and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
I second.
Motion and second to approve resolution number 18-2024 and accept the easement agreement with BRE Evans LLC for the utility easement and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Michael. Appreciate it. All right, next item, reports. Item number 9, city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I just have two things for you tonight. First off, I'd like to propose the idea of scheduling a special city council work session for Wednesday, October 9th, to interview candidates for the Park and Recreation Advisory Board. We did receive 10 applications for the 5-member board. If we're able to do the interviews that night, then I'd like to have that on the October 15th city council agenda for final approval, so we can start moving forward with that advisory board.
What time?
What time?
5 o'clock, 5 or 6.
6 or 5:30.
We have 10 applicants, and if we look at 15-20 minutes per interview, I mean, it'll definitely be a full night.
So the sooner the better. 4?
Some people aren't gonna be able to make
That's
it
short
up to work.
If 5:30 would be
5:30.
fine.
5:30.
I can do 5:30.
We'll just stay
5:30.
late.
5:30, okay. 5:30 that's on Wednesday,
The 9th.
October 9th.
Okay, 5:30 sounds good.
5:30, everybody in agreements?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 second, please.
Wait, just one moment.
Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry.
And I will send you a email with the special meeting request.
Okay, so with that, I will create a schedule and we'll make contact with all the applicants so they know what time to be here. And we'll also put some questions together for you guys to consider if you'd like for the actual interview.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
The only other thing I've got, Peter, if you're back there, if you could come forward. I would like to introduce Peter Wasaki as the new Community Development Director. So Peter started with us yesterday, came back for day 2, so I'm really excited about that. Peter joins us after serving as the Community Development Director for the City of Colorado Springs for the past 12 years and has extensive experience in the realm of community development and city planning. So I'm very excited to welcome him to the executive team.
Welcome.
Nice to
Welcome.
meet you.
And just like to say a few words. Just thank you, Cody, and the city team for giving me this opportunity. I'm very excited. You have a great team. Just listening to the budget presentation today and the tool, it's pretty exciting. So I look forward to working with you, with Cody, of course, with the city team and the residents and businesses of City of Evans. So glad to be here and looking forward to a bright future ahead.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Happy to have you.
One more thing, I just want to take a moment to thank Jackie and her team, the whole finance team, for the hard work that they've put in over the last several months in the budget. Between Jackie really coordinating this thing, putting up with my last-minute questions and requests to get it to you guys in a timely manner, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's hard work. I'm really excited about the budget. I think we are really pushing it, but it does exemplify it does really point out the discussions that we need to have in the coming months for the general fund. So very appreciative of all the hard work. Thank you again. And especially thank you to the council as well for your guidance during the process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
All right, City Attorney.
Just a couple of items. We kind of had to rush through the last few cases this evening, but I think you have a more detailed description of those cases. So if there are any of them that you have questions about, feel free to give me a call, or if you want me to bring back any of them for further discussion, be glad to do that. The only other thing I noticed that the Deputy City Attorney Drew Lyman and I attended the CML Attorneys Conference in Colorado Springs weekend before last. Lots of good, useful information that came out of that we'll pass on as issues come up. And that's all I've got.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next item, council discussion. Just want to bring up that last Friday, we went to, Tammy and I were at the after hours for the chamber, and I had a great discussion with Cheryl there. She is very happy about the development that they did here in Evans, and they have that other one going on in Greeley, and she said to me, she's like, Mark, when we're done with that, we would like to come back to Evans, and she's like, I have some great ideas for another development, and I told her we would definitely welcome her ideas and look forward to working with her again after that development's done in Greeley. So that was great to hear. She said that Evans always has a special place in her heart because we were the first community to allow that development to happen, and that was her first development, and she wants to bring another one back here to Evans. So I thought that was great to hear from her, and look forward to that. So that was pretty exciting. But other than that, that's all I have. Anybody else have anything?
I do.
Go ahead.
So at that same event, the chamber did talk about needing sponsors for their softball game at the end of October, and I was wondering if, we could donate from our fund, like the
council discretionary fund.
Yeah, the council discretionary fund, if we could donate to that or sponsor whatever it is. And then, so that's something to think about. And then I already had someone reach out to me where that new park is going to be that we were talking about in the work session. And their first thing that they both said was, what about parking? Because parking is horrible in that neighborhood. So, just so you know, citizens are watching and contributing, and they had the same concern I did as parking. So that's all for me.
You had something?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I attended the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board, and they also reiterated that we had a fantastic presentation. So thank you, Cody. Everyone was excited about that. Also, I know we are going to put in for the North Range MPO we're going to put in for ask for grants, I believe.
Yeah.
So submit applications. So one of the things that the city of Greeley requested a letter of support. So I did mention that I would like that for us as well. I know that Mark was not in town at the time, but it's still on the table. So if we would like a letter of support from CTAB, we can definitely do that as well to help with the applications. I think that another thing I would like to see is the city of Evans maybe at least twice a year present at CTAB, just to give them some insight on what's happening in our city, because I think people were definitely, the committee was definitely excited to hear what we have going on, and I think sometimes we don't toot our own horn, and we need to, but also provide ways of kind of collaborating and connecting. So that's all I have. Oh, and the last thing, I did want to mention also, if possible, we can discuss some of the fees for the water when it comes to maybe even considering potentially, I'm not certain if we have like a specific company that we go with or ways to kind of lessen the amount of service fees when someone uses their card online. I did have, community members reach out and say that if they use their credit card online, there was like a $20 fee. They sent me screenshots of it, and so I wasn't certain what that looks like exactly. So just to kind of get an idea of that.
It's like $2, and like.
And then and it was mentioned when they come in, it's like $8 in person. So I just wasn't sure I'm like, I do not know. So I just want to have clarification on that, what that looks like. That is all.
There's no fee with a check.
Yeah.
There's a standard credit card processing
like
fee.
$2.95.
And is it in a percentage, Jackie? Not if, so it's like 2 point something%.
So
Yeah.
is it a percentage of like the total bill?
No.
Or is it
Well,
a
of
percent?
the-
Well, and yeah, because I guess if like they were have a higher quantity like owed, that amount clearly would be higher. Okay, so
Mhm.
it's based off like
Yeah.
owed.
Yeah.
So okay, that makes sense.
We'll just have them write a check and there's no fee.
Right.
Or ACH, yeah.
Okay.
ACH, there's a fee.
There
so
is
that's
a-
right,
there is a
95
fee.
cents, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
I asked that question last time.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I wasn't sure.
anything else?
Evans Heritage Days was fun. Can we have more parties like that, like an Oktoberfest or a
Yes.
Fall Fest or like
That's right.
a Spring Fest? I really think that having the community come together is important. Just having more social outings as an organization would be fun.
I think that's a great idea. I know you and I discussed that the other day, and I know Councilmember Delaney discussed it as well. We would love to bring an Oktoberfest to Evans, in addition to Heritage Days.
And
I
even
think-
a potential Spring Fest, maybe
Yeah.
3 a year.
Yeah,
I think that would be fantastic.
Just
And-
bring people out, and then maybe we can make it mobile, go to the different parks to show off the parks that we're spending all this money on.
agreed.
Just have a party.
Oh.
Dance around the maypole, come on.
Also,
Yes,
also,
That's all I have.
one last thing. Also, it was brought up to my attention, utilizing Riverside Library. You know how we have those like encased areas where you can showcase specific memorabilia or what have you. Like throughout the year, maybe having a designated area to kind of show like culture or things that are happening within community to kind of connect community. Because one of the things that has been mentioned, really collaborating with like UNC, Ames, or the various different functions that are happening through the city. I have to say, the Greeley Philharmonic reached out to me, so I'm part of their committee for 2025 to plan for the kind of Latin beats that they're doing. And so they would like to also bring it to Evans, so in a way of connecting, you know, all the things that are happening and bringing our city into those conversations.
You're always welcome to come to the city. for
So
anything.
I have a question about that. So
Yes.
who's a curator? Wouldn't that be the Highlands Park Library and not the city of Evans?
It would
Who
be, it would
controls?
be both.
Yeah.
So we have control in that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
I did not know that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right, if there's no other council discussion, we are going to recess the Evans City Council meeting, and we are going to go into our Evans Redevelopment Agency meeting. And I'll give Jules a couple moments to open up that meeting, and then we'll call that to order. Anybody need to take a quick break or anything, or we can do that between the executive session? Is that, Fred, you need to? Okay, we'll take a quick 5-minute break. Yeah. Good, Fred. Fred, you're on a roll today.
Yeah, he is.
And then, so